We live in a world haunted by invisible armies. According to the latest statistics, nearly 70% of us believe in angels and nearly 60% fear the devil. We are told this is the oldest story in existence, a simple binary war between light and dark, God versus Satan, heaven versus hell. But what if I told you that story is a forgery? The true history of the unseen world is not a fairy tale. It is a complex, terrified, desperate search for order. It is a journey that spans 3,000 years, from the windswept deserts of Mesopotamia, where demons were not enemies but guardians, to the forbidden slopes of Mount Hermon, where fallen angels didn't just tempt humanity, they taught us the science of war. It is time to map the precise infrastructure of the afterlife. We will learn the 9 choirs of the angelic host, from the burning seraphim to the wheels of the Avanim, and we will descend into the feudal aristocracy of hell, decoding the ranks of the 72 demon kings, dukes, and earls. We will open the sealed grimoires of King Solomon to uncover the mathematical code that binds them. We will climb the Kabbalistic tree of life, and we will dare to descend into its shadow, the tree of death. This is not a Sunday school lesson. This is an investigation into the blueprints of consciousness itself. We are going to peel back the layers of theology, folklore, and fear to answer the ultimate question: are we fighting a war against the supernatural, or have we been at war with ourselves all along? Welcome to the hierarchy of the unseen. There is one demon the modern world knows by sight, a grotesque, bestial face frozen in a silent scream. It is the face that haunted movie theaters and terrified a generation. The face of the demon from the film The Exorcist. That face has a name: Pazuzu. For millions, he is the icon of pure possessing evil, a symbol of chaos and corruption. But the ancient world, the world that created Pazuzu, would have been horrified by this depiction. Not because it was frightening, but because it was wrong. In the dusty homes of ancient Mesopotamia, roughly 3,000 years ago, Pazuzu was not a threat. He was a guardian. His horrifying face was not a weapon against humans, it was a weapon for them. He was an apotropaic entity, a domestic protector deity. His demonic inhuman form was a shield invoked in Mesopotamian white magic to frighten away unwanted spiritual guests. But what could be so terrifying that the people of Assyria and Babylon would invite a monster like Pazuzu into their homes? What nightmare did he protect them from? He was invoked to fight a different kind of monster. A terror so profound, so visceral, that scribes often refused to write her name in full. Her name was Lamashtu. Lamashtu was the ultimate primordial terror. She was the nightmare of every parent in the ancient world, a demoness who stalked pregnant women, who caused miscarriages, who would creep into a home silent as the dark to snatch a newborn from its cradle. She was the embodiment of household tragedy, often depicted suckling a pig and a dog while standing on the back of a donkey. This is where Pazuzu, the demon, becomes the hero. He was Lamashtu's direct rival. It is theorized he may have been created specifically to counter her. He was the king of the demons of the wind, specifically the destructive southwestern wind that brought famine and locusts. He was a personification of the plague. But in a world of complex forces, you fought fire with fire. Archaeologists have found hundreds of amulets bearing his image in the foundations of ancient houses. Pregnant women frequently wore amulets with his head on them, often on a bronze necklace, as a literal shield to protect their unborn child from Lamashtu's machinations. The inscription on the back of these amulets often read, "I am Pazuzu, son of Hanbi, king of the evil wind demons. I have mounted the mountain to lock away the winds." This is the key. For the Assyrians and Babylonians, the universe was not a simple battle of good and evil. Theirs was a world of complex competing forces. Power was not inherently virtuous, and chaos was not always meant to be eradicated. Pazuzu was a monster who frightened away other monsters. This misunderstanding is not just about Pazuzu. The very word demon has been forged into a weapon. Our word comes from the Latin daemon, which in turn comes from the ancient Greek daemon. But the original daemon was not evil, it was not an enemy, it was a lesser deity, a guiding spirit, a divider or portioner of fate. The philosopher Socrates, when on trial for his life, spoke of his daimonion. It was not a monster, it was an inward oracle, a divine principle, a voice he trusted as a guide. To Plato, the daimon was a spirit that acted as a personal guardian, a morally ambivalent intermediary connecting the human to the divine. So how did this divine guide become the face of absolute evil? The answer is a theological conquest. As monotheism rose, it demonized the gods and spirits of the old pagan world. The daimon, the neutral force, was recast. The guardian became a monster. The guide became a demon. This was not just a change in language, it was the creation of an enemy, but an enemy needs a war. And that idea, the blueprint for our entire understanding of good and evil, was an invention. The devil as we know him has an origin point, a moment in history. It was not in Judea, but in ancient Persia. There, a prophet named Zoroaster introduced a radical idea. The universe was a battlefield. All of existence was a cosmic war between two opposing independent powers. On one side, Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Wisdom, the creator god of light and truth. On the other, his eternal adversary, Angra Mainyu, the destructive force of darkness and deceit. This cosmic dualism was revolutionary. Crucially, Zoroaster described the Amesha Spentas, the holy immortals, 6 divine beings created by Ahura Mazda to help govern the world: good mind, truth, power, devotion, wholeness, and immortality. These are the direct historical ancestors of the archangels. This idea would change the world. After the Babylonian exile, Jewish thinkers living under Persian rule absorbed these new ideas. They developed a complex angelology and demonology, a final judgment, and a defined heaven and hell. But this created a profound theological problem. In early Judaism, God was responsible for everything. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Isaiah 45:7. There was no room for a rival. The solution was found in a legal term. In the Hebrew Bible, a figure appears in the heavenly court. His name is not Satan, he is Hasatan. This is not a proper name, it is a title. It means the accuser or the prosecutor. In the book of Job, Hasatan is a member of God's divine council, a cynical but loyal agent who cannot act without God's permission. He is a civil servant roaming the earth to test the loyalty of men. This is the moment of invention. Jewish writers, now wrestling with the Persian concept of a cosmic adversary, needed a character to fill that role. They merged the job title of Hasatan with the cosmic evil of Angra Mainyu. The civil servant was promoted to cosmic terrorist. The title became a name, Satan. But where did his army come from? If God created everything, why are there legions of demons? The answer lies in a forbidden book, a text that was once as popular as Genesis, but was later purged from the official canon by both Jewish and Christian authorities, the Book of Enoch. According to Enoch, demons are not fallen angels. They are something far worse. They are the bastard ghosts of giants. The text describes a specific event. 200 angels known as the Watchers, grimoires, descended onto Mount Hermon. They didn't fall because of pride. They fell because of lust. Led by leaders named Semyaza and Azazel, they took human wives. But the sin of the Watchers was not just lust, it was education. They did not just corrupt the human bloodline, they corrupted the human mind. They set up a literal academy of forbidden sciences on Mount Hermon. The text of Enoch is specific and the curriculum is terrifyingly familiar. The leader Semyaza taught the casting of spells and the cutting of roots. This was the birth of pharmakia, the use of drugs, herbs, and psychedelics to alter consciousness. The angel Armorus taught counterspells, or the dissolving of enchantments. Barakiel taught astrology, the reading of the stars to predict the future. Kokabiel taught the knowledge of the constellations. Ezekiel taught the knowledge of clouds and weather systems. But the most damaging knowledge came from the angel Azazel. He taught men the secrets of the metals. He showed them how to mine the earth to create swords, knives, shields, and breastplates. Before Azazel, war was a brawl. After Azazel, war was an industry. And to the women he taught the art of making the eyes, painting with antimony, and beautifying the eyelids with precious stones and dyes. This sounds trivial to us, but in the ancient context, this was the weaponization of seduction. It was the introduction of vanity, deception, and the manipulation of appearance. This recontextualizes everything. In the Enochian view, demons are not just monsters hiding in caves. They are the architects of civilization itself. They gave us metallurgy, astronomy, medicine, cosmetics, and weaponry. The very tools we use to build our cities and fight our wars are considered fallen technology, stolen from heaven and given to a species that lack the wisdom to use them. We are not fighting demons with our technology. Our technology is the demon.
This corruption required a solution, and the Bible describes a ritual that is the direct origin of our modern image of the devil. It is found in Leviticus 16.
On the Day of Atonement, the high priest would take 2 goats. He would cast lots over them. One lot was marked for the Lord, Yahweh. This goat was sacrificed in the temple to cleanse the sanctuary. But the second lot was marked for Azazel. The priest would lay his hands on the head of this living goat and confess all the sins, rebellions, and wickedness of the people, magically transferring the guilt onto the animal. This is the literal scapegoat. But this goat was not killed. It was led out into the wilderness, into the jagged rocks of the desert, and released. It was sent back to Azazel. This was a transaction. The holy energy went to God. The toxic, sinful energy was returned to the demon in the wasteland. This is why, for thousands of years, the demonic has been depicted with the face of a goat. It is not just a pagan remnant. It is the face of the vessel that carries our sins back to their Father. But the Watchers left behind more than just forbidden knowledge and sin. They left a bloodline. The offspring of this unholy union were the Nephilim, giants who consumed the earth's resources and eventually began to eat humans. When the great flood was sent to destroy these giants, their physical bodies died, but their spirits, half angel, half human, were immortal. They could not die. These disembodied spirits of the dead giants became the evil spirits roaming the earth. They are the demons of the Second Temple period. They aren't working for Satan. They are simply hungry, chaotic ghosts looking for a body to inhabit. This new cosmic war needed maps, not just of good and evil, but of consciousness itself. The most esoteric map is the Kabbalah's Tree of Life. It is a diagram of 10 sephirot, or divine attributes, that illustrate how the Ein Sof, the infinite unknowable God, projects its energy into creation. These are the 10 channels of creation: Keter, the crown; Chokmah, wisdom; Bina, understanding; Hesed, kindness; Gevora, strength; Tiferet, beauty, and so on. In this mystical system, angels are not just messengers, they are the channels. They are divine emanations. Each sephirah, each branch on this tree of life, is overseen by an archangel. The archangel Metatron, the scribe of God, is associated with the highest crown, Keter. The archangel Gabriel, the messenger of divine strength, is linked to the foundation of Yesod. Archangel Sandalphon transmits human prayers from the earthly kingdom of Malkut back to the divine. The angelic hierarchy is a living blueprint of divine energy, a way to understand the attributes of God as discrete personified forces. But every ray of light casts a shadow. In Kabbalistic texts, this perfect divine map has a dark reflection. It is called the Sitra Achra, the other side. This is the realm of the Qlipoth. This word means shells or husks. The Qlipoth are the inverse, corrupted reflections of the divine attributes. They are imbalance, impurity, the tree of death. They are the shadow cast by the tree of life. This is a complete parallel anti-hierarchy. Each divine sephirah has its dark, qliphotic mirror. The divine crown of Keter, representing pure unity, is mirrored by Thaumiel, the twins of God, representing division and rebellion. The wisdom of Chochmah is mirrored by Gagiel, the hinderers, who are attached to lies and material illusion. The understanding of Bina is mirrored by Satariel, the concealers, the force of divine darkness and secrecy. The strength of Gevurah is reflected by Golachab, the burning bodies, the archetype of uncontrolled destruction and cruelty. The victory of Netzach is mirrored by Gagiel, the smiters, and the earthly kingdom of Malkut is mirrored by Lilith, the obscene ones, or the queen of the night. This is not just a list of monsters, it is a complex esoteric map of the shadow. It suggests that evil is not a separate creation, but a result of unbalanced divinity. Power without containment, love without boundaries, judgment without mercy. What do these beings actually look like? When we picture an angel, we see a beautiful winged human in a white robe. When we picture a demon, we see red skin, horns, and a pitchfork. Both of these images are complete fabrications. They are not biblical, they are cultural inventions. The Bible, when it dares to describe the beings closest to God, is alien, terrifying, and bizarre. We begin with the seraphim, the highest choir. The prophet Isaiah describes them in his vision of the throne room. The word seraph means to burn. They are the fiery ones, 6 winged angels who burn with pure love for God. Their 6 wings have a precise, humble function. With 2 they covered their face, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they did fly. 2 wings to fly, and 4 wings to express humility, covering their face as none may look upon God, and covering their feet to hide any uncleanliness before the Lord. They do not speak to God, but cry out to each other, "Holy, holy, holy," in a threefold repetition that shakes the foundations of the temple. Later artists, conflating this vision with one from the Book of Revelation, added another feature. They are covered with eyes. Then there are the cherubim, the guardians of wisdom. Ezekiel's vision of these beings is even more strange. He describes them as having 4 faces: the face of a cherub, the face of a human, the face of a lion, and the face of an eagle. They have 4 wings, and under their wings are the hands of a man. And like the seraphim of art, they are completely full of eyes, covering their entire bodies, including their backs, their hands, and their wings. Finally, there are the thrones, or ophanim. These are not humanoid at all, they are the wheels of God's divine chariot. Ezekiel describes them as a wheel within a wheel, like a gyroscope. The scripture describes them as the color of beryl or chrysolite, a flashing blue-green gem. And they too are full of eyes round about. They are living, intelligent, all-seeing constructs that move with the cherubim, but without turning as they went. These are the biblically accurate angels, not gentle guardians, but fiery, many-faced, multifaceted beings of pure light and motion. So what about demons? The Bible is almost completely silent. As spirits, they have no default physical form. The popular image of a red-horned, goat-like beast with a pitchfork is a medieval invention. It was created by demonizing the imagery of pagan gods like the horned, goat-legged Greek god Pan, and combining it with literary descriptions from Dante's Inferno and Milton's Paradise Lost. The one description the Bible gives of Satan is a metaphor for his primary function, deception. He disguises himself as an angel of light. His goal is to appear beautiful, attractive, and true. The most accurate description of a demon's nature is found in the New Testament. "My name is Legion," one says, "for we are many." This is not a physical form, but a hive concept, a multitude of spirits sharing a single mind and will. While the Kabbalah provides an esoteric map of emanations, Christian mysticism created an organized political bureaucracy for the cosmos. The definitive blueprint was written in the 5th or 6th century by a mystic known as Pseudo-Dionysius the Areopagite. His work on the celestial hierarchy is a breathtaking vision of cosmic order. It is not a chaotic realm. It is a perfect Neoplatonic chain of beings where divinity flows down from God to humanity through 9 precise levels or choirs, organized into 3 triads. This is a journey from the blinding throne of God down to our own world, descending through the 9 choirs. The highest triad exists in God's direct, immediate presence in pure contemplation. The seraphim, those who burn, contemplate God's burning love. The cherubim, the fullness of knowledge, contemplate His divine wisdom. The thrones, the angels of pure humility, are the seat of God, contemplating His divine peace and justice. The middle triad governs the cosmos itself, the principles of the material world. The dominions are the angels of leadership who regulate the lower angels and dispense divine authority. The virtues are the spirits of motion, the masters of causality who control the elements, govern creation and manifest God's miracles. And the powers are the warrior angels, the defenders of the cosmos, holding the line against demonic influence. The lowest triad is the celestial administration that interacts directly with humanity. The principalities are the guardians of nations and leaders, guiding the fate of entire peoples. The archangels are the chief messengers who reveal the deepest divine mysteries to humanity. And finally, the angels, the familiar messengers who interact with individual human beings. These are the 9 choirs, a perfect, detailed mirror of a divine government. And just as heaven has its bureaucracy, so too does hell. There are, in fact, multiple competing classifications for the infernal legions. The simplest and most famous was created in 1589 by the German Jesuit priest and witch hunter Peter Binsfeld. He was not trying to use demons, he was trying to blame them. He linked 7 princes of hell to the 7 deadly sins: Lucifer for pride, Mammon for greed, Asmodeus for lust, Leviathan for envy, Beelzebub for gluttony, Satan for wrath, and Belphegor for sloth. This is a simple moral hierarchy. It frames demons as the causes of human sin. But there is another, far older and more complex directory, a technical manual. It is the most infamous of all grimoires, the Lesser Key of Solomon, compiled in the 17th century from materials centuries older. The first section, the Ars Goetia, is not a work of worship. It is a blueprint for controlling spirits. But where did this authority come from? The legend goes back to the Testament of Solomon, a text from the first millennium. It tells the story of how King Solomon received a magical ring from the Archangel Michael. This ring, etched with the seal of God, often associated with the pentagram or hexagram, gave Solomon the power to bind demons. The legend gets stranger. Solomon was commanded not to use iron tools to build the temple, as iron was a metal of war. So he used his ring to compel a demon to reveal the location of the shamir, a mythical worm or radioactive substance about the size of a barley corn that could cut through the hardest stone with a mere touch. The Holy Temple of Jerusalem was built by the hands of hell, using a worm that could cut rock. The Ars Goetia expands this legend. It catalogs 72 demons who were summoned, bound in a brass vessel, and forced into servitude by Solomon. But why 72? Why is this specific number the key to the hierarchy? The answer is hidden in a code in the Book of Exodus. If you look at Exodus 14, 19, 20, and 21, a strange mathematical anomaly appears in the original Hebrew. Each of these 3 verses contains exactly 72 letters. Medieval Kabbalists discovered that if you write these 3 verses in a grid, the first from right to left, the second from left to right, and the third from right to left, they form 72 columns of 3 letters each. These are the 72 names of God, known as the Shem HaMeforash. This is the source code of creation. And for every one of these 72 divine names, there is a corresponding angel. The angel Vehuaya for the first name, Jeliel for the second, Sitael for the third. This is the secret mechanism of Solomon's magic. The 72 demons of the Goetia are the shadows or counterforces to these 72 angels. You cannot control the shadow without holding the light. To bind a Goetic king like Baal, the magician does not use their own willpower. They invoke the corresponding Shem angel. in Baal's case the angel Vehuir, to enforce the divine order. It is a perfect system of checks and balances, a celestial prison built out of mathematics, 72 angels to rule, 72 demons to serve. Just like heaven, this infernal directory is a rigid feudal hierarchy. The 72 spirits are not a chaotic mob, they are an aristocracy. They are ranked with noble titles: kings, dukes, marquises, earls, presidents, and knights. And the grimoire describes them in obsessive, fascinating detail. There is King Baal, the first and most powerful, the head of the infernal powers. He is said to appear with 3 heads, that of a toad, a man, and a cat. He teaches the art of invisibility. There is King Paimon, one of the great kings, more obedient to Lucifer than the others. He rides a dromedary and is preceded by a host of musicians. He is not a warrior, he is a teacher. He teaches all arts, philosophies, and sciences, and can reveal all the mysteries of the earth, wind, and water. There is Duke Amdusias, depicted with the head of a unicorn, and the demon in charge of the cacophonous music of hell. He can give concerts if commanded, where the instruments are heard but not seen, and he can make trees bend at will. There is Duke Forus, who appears as a terrible leopard. He gives true answers of all things past, present, and future, but with a terrible catch. He must be commanded into a magic triangle, or he will lie, deceive, and beguile the conjurer.
And there is Markiandros, who appears with the body of an angel but the head of an owl, riding upon a strong black wolf and wielding a sharp sword. He is considered one of the most dangerous, as he sows discord and is capable of killing the conjuring magician and his assistants if any mistake is made.
In the Ars Goetia, these are not evil beings, they are neutral intelligences. They are tools to be commanded to gain knowledge, wealth, or power. But even these powerful spirits are not the top of the food chain. The hierarchy of hell is strictly geographical. The 72 spirits are ruled by the 4 great kings of the cardinal directions, the supreme monarchs who stand between the spirits and Lucifer himself. Ruling the east is King Oriens, the most powerful, associated with the element of air and the rising sun. In magical rituals, the magician must always face east to appeal to his authority. Ruling the west is King Paimon, associated with water and the setting sun. Ruling the north is King Egin, associated with earth and the cold darkness. And ruling the south is King Amaimon, associated with fire and the heat of the desert. This is crucial because it reveals that the hierarchy of hell is not just a political ladder, it is a map of the physical world. To control a demon, you must know not just his name but his compass direction, his element, and his king. You are not just summoning a ghost, you are hacking a coordinate system. However, there is an even darker book, the Grand Grimoire, also known as the Red Dragon. This text, dating to the 18th or 19th century, introduces a terrifying hierarchy that sits above the 72 spirits. It introduces a character named Lucifuge Rofokal. Note the names. Lucifer means light bringer. Lucifuge means light fleer. He is the prime minister of hell. According to this text, Lucifer is the emperor, too distant to be summoned. To get the money and power you want, you must make a pact with his prime minister, Lucifuge. But Lucifuge does not rule alone. The Grand Grimoire outlines a complete infernal cabinet that eerily mirrors the military governments of Europe. There is Satanakia, the commander-in-chief, who holds the power to subject all women and girls to his will. There is Agalia Rept, the Grand General who commands the secret police of hell, holding the power to uncover the most hidden secrets in any court or cabinet in the world. There is Fleurity, the Lieutenant General who controls the weather, capable of summoning hail and storms to destroy the harvest of an enemy nation. And there is Nebiros, the Field Marshal, who oversees the legions of the dead and practices the highest art of necromancy. This reveals the ultimate irony of the demonic hierarchy. We expect hell to be a place of pure, unrestrained chaos, but the grimoires reveal the exact opposite. Hell is a bureaucracy. It has generals, prime ministers, and paperwork. It is a terrifying reflection of our own desire for order at any cost. These maps, the Kabbalah, the celestial hierarchy, the Gautier, are not just theology. They are blueprints for contact. In 16th century England, Dr. John Dee, a brilliant mathematician and personal advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, set out on this path. Dee was obsessed with a lost antediluvian wisdom, a true language. He believed God had once communicated directly to Adam and Enoch. With his controversial scryer, Edward Kelly, Dee held angelic conversations. Kelly would gaze into a crystal showstone, and Dee, the meticulous academic, recorded everything. The result was the reception of a complete angelic language, a 21-letter alphabet read right to left, and 48 poetic verses which the angels called the claves angelicae, the angelic keys. Dee called it the Adamic language, the tongue spoken in paradise. They utilized complex furniture for these rituals, including the sigillum Dei Emeth, a wax seal covered in divine names, placed under the crystal. This was a practical attempt to access the celestial hierarchy, to get the angels on the phone.
While Dee sought contact, others received it. In 12th century Germany, the Benedictine abbess Hildegard of Bingen experienced visions her entire life. Her visions were not trances. She remained fully conscious, seeing what she called the umbra viventis lucis, the reflection of the living light. Commanded by a voice from heaven, she wrote and illustrated her masterpiece Civias, or Know the Ways.
Her art depicted the fall of Satan not as a man but as a great star, most splendid and beautiful, and his angels as a multitude of falling sparks, turned into black coals and cast into the abyss. But perhaps the most radical interpretation came from the 18th century mystic Emanuel Swedenborg. He claimed to freely visit heaven and hell. His revelation, all angels and demons are from the human race. No one is created as an angel or demon. We are all born for heaven. After death, we migrate to the society that matches our internal nature. Heaven and hell, Swedenborg said, are not rewards or punishments. They are societies that match our internal loves. An evil spirit, he claimed, could enter heaven, but would be so tortured by the purity and love in the air that they would choose to flee back to hell, where they feel at home. Hell is not a fire pit of external torment. It is a state of being where evil spirits are free to torture each other, because that is their nature. This is the ultimate bridge. These maps are not external, they are internal. Look at the tarot. The 78 cards are a map of the human experience. The 22 cards of the major arcana, or great secrets, are a direct link to this esoteric map. They represent the 22 paths connecting the 10 Sephiroth on the Kabbalistic tree of life. The deck is not a fortune-telling tool. It is a map of spiritual evolution, the fool's journey to enlightenment. And this map contains angels and demons. Card 14, Temperance, is an angelic figure. It stands with 1 foot on land, the conscious material world, and 1 foot in water, the subconscious spiritual realm. It pours water between 2 cups, perfectly blending the opposites. It is the archetype of balance, harmony, and the higher self. Card 20, Judgment, is the call to resurrection. It depicts the archangel, often identified as Gabriel, blowing a trumpet. The dead, hearing the call, rise from their coffins. This is not a literal apocalypse. It is a symbol of an inner awakening, a call to rebirth and the atonement of the self. But to achieve the balance of temperance and the awakening of judgment, the fool must first pass through 2 of the most feared cards in the deck. Card 15, the Devil. This is not a literal being, it is an archetype. Its iconography is directly linked to the pagan god Pan, the raw, goatish, uncivilized force of nature. In psychological terms, this card is the personal shadow. It represents materialism, addiction, and the raw, uncivilized impulses which we experience as evil. It is the part of ourselves we fear, loathe, and deny, and which holds us in bondage through that denial. The figures in the card are chained to the devil's pedestal, but the chains are loose. They can leave whenever they want. The bondage is voluntary. The very next card, card 16, is the Tower. Lightning strikes a tall tower, a crown is dislodged, and figures fall to their doom. This is the Tower of Illusion, the false ego being shattered by a flash of divine truth. This card is often linked to the fall of Lucifer, not as Satan but as the light bringer, the flash of truth that destroys the false self. You must face the devil to earn the liberation of the tower. This blurs the line. Is magic just psychology? In the 20th century, Carl Jung took this literally. He underwent a period of voluntary psychosis he called the confrontation with the unconscious, documented in his Red Book. He conversed with a winged entity named Philemon, whom he considered a guide. Jung realized that demons were autonomous complexes, splintered parts of the psyche that had broken off and formed their own personalities.
Look at the Goetia. The occultist Aleister Crowley, who published a famous edition in 1904, recontextualized the entire work. The 72 demons, he argued, were not external spirits, they were psychological explorations. They were parts of the human mind. Summoning King Paimon, the demon of knowledge, was a ritual for accessing one's own hidden potential.
This idea is perfected in the theory of sigil magic, pioneered by the artist Austin Osman Spare. In this system, a sigil is not a demon's name. It is a sentence of desire, compressed, stylized, and buried in the subconscious. The ritual, performed in a state of trance, is designed to implant this sigil deep in the unconscious mind, bypassing the psychic censor of conscious thought. The magician then forgets the sigil's meaning, allowing the subconscious to work free from the interference of conscious doubt. This is the thesis. Psychology as we know it is the practice of addressing and integrating unconscious complexes. Magic in this light is the practice of creating and instilling complexes to achieve a desired result. They are two different languages trying to describe the same mysterious and powerful force. But this psychological approach leads to a dangerous question. If we create these beings in our minds, can they escape? In Tibetan mysticism, there is a concept known as the tulpa. It is a being created through sheer spiritual discipline and intense concentration. If a monk focuses on an image long enough, adds enough detail, and feeds it with enough emotional energy, the image essentially hides a portion of the monk's own consciousness and becomes semi-autonomous. It becomes a hallucination that others can see. In the West, this is known as an egregore, a group thought form. The theory is that if a group of people, a cult, a religion, or even an internet forum focuses their collective belief on a specific entity, that entity gains a life of its own. It feeds on the attention, it grows, it begins to influence its creators. This suggests a terrifying possibility about the hierarchy of hell. Perhaps Pazuzu, Baal, and Asmodeus were not originally real. But after thousands of years of fear, after millions of people have whispered their names and visualized their forms, have we fed them enough energy to make them real? We may not be discovering monsters. We may be building them. We have searched for angels and demons for millennia. We have looked for them in the sky, in the shadows, and in the pages of forbidden books. But in all that time, we have been looking in the wrong place. We did not discover angels and demons. We invented them, not as a lie, but as a language. They are the most sophisticated metaphors we have ever created. The celestial hierarchy of Dionysius and the Kabbalistic tree of life are not just theology. They are a map of our highest aspirations, our capacity for divine love, for wisdom, for unity. They are the blueprint of our light. The Ars Goetia and the Qliphothic Tree of Death are not a roster of monsters. They are a catalogue of the human shadow, a directory of our raw, uncivilized impulses, our fears, and our hidden potential. The war in heaven is not a historical event. It is a grand cosmic projection of the real war, the war that is fought not between Michael and a dragon, but within every human mind, every single day. The blueprint was never a map to the supernatural. It was and has always been a mirror. This is just a documentary. I strongly believe in angels, so what about you? What do you think about angel and demons? Let us know in the comment section.